If you are considering starting your career in human rights protection or are already in this field, this channel is for you. By creating this channel, I wanted to show you why we human rights workers often struggle financially despite our intense investment in our careers and how we, as individuals, can make human rights work financially sustainable. Today's episode is about achieving personal financial stability despite the challenges. This video focuses on the big picture, and I'll share more details and practical examples in future episodes. Achieving financial sustainability while working in the human rights sector sometimes appears to be an unattainable goal. But after watching this video, I hope you feel slightly more hopeful and empowered. Now, let us ask ourselves, how can we make that happen? The short and sweet answer is that we can achieve this goal by earning, saving, investing, and spending wisely. Does this sound simple to you? But easier said than done. We just have too much weight on our shoulders, but fret not. We can divide this daunting task into bite-sized chunks so we can tackle them one by one. First of all, we need to earn wisely. As we all know, getting a paid entry-level position at a human rights NGO or a UN organization is extremely hard. So we need to be flexible in our job search. In some cases, jobs at national or regional governments could also work as a first step. Although these jobs are also hard to come by, the path to getting these jobs is often clearer than that for similar jobs at the international level. In other cases, you may be able to find jobs in corporate settings, from which you could learn skills that are transferable to the nonprofit sector. In addition to having a fixed income, it is also important to have a side hustle that you can rely on in between jobs, such as translation, language teaching, or tutoring children. Last but not least, we can make it a habit to sell our pre-loved items online to make a bit of money and to realize how many things you bought, only to have them sold for 1/10 of the original price. That would help you spend less in the future, too. You would also save shipping expenses if you relocate frequently from one country to another because you have fewer things to ship. Second, regardless of how much we earn, we need to start building a habit of saving. But before we even start saving, we need to pay back debts with high interest rates. This is because if you accelerate your payments, you will usually end up paying less in interest. That being said, if you have a loan with a low interest rate, you don't necessarily have to rush as long as you aren't being delinquent on your payments. After you've paid back your high interest debt, you need to save up to 6 months to a year's worth of your daily expenses and keep it as your emergency fund. The amount necessary depends on the number of dependents, whether you have an additional revenue stream, whether you can move back into your parents' house if push comes to shove, or whether you have another reliable working adult in the same household. Having an emergency fund to fall back on should be your top priority because if you don't have it, you will go into debt soon after you lose your job. If you are free of high-interest debt and have your emergency fund ready, you can move on to the third step, which is to save enough to cover expected extraordinary expenses, such as planned vacations or your children's tuition. Once you've paid back your high-interest debt and have your emergency fund ready, you may want to consider investing in non-cash assets, such as stocks, bonds, gold, and real estate. An investment that grows by around 5% annually is considered a good investment. If the projected growth is too good to be true, you might want to investigate whether this scheme is a scam or extremely high risk. It might also be that you must invest a significant amount of your time to reach that projected return. Because interest accumulates over time, investing early and as much as possible is the key to making yourself richer in the future. That is one of the reasons we need to prioritize getting a paid job when we are young, in order to take advantage of the time ahead of us. One important thing to note is that stock prices fluctuate significantly, so you want to make sure you sell it when prices are high enough to make a profit. To avoid having to sell them when prices are low, you'd want to save enough cash for the short and mid-term to cover expected expenses, at the bare minimum. Although earning, saving, and investing are critical to financial sustainability, conscious spending is as important as the other 3 pillars of my advice. We should spend our money on things and experiences that make us happy in the long run. But to afford whatever is the most important for us, we must set a priority and avoid spending our money on things that are low on the list. Another important point to consider is the practical value your expenses bring you. If you are not a morning person, living near your office could be a good investment, even if it means higher rent. Moreover, if you reduce your commute by half, you can use that time to rest, have fun, or invest in the future. It is also important to be honest about money with your loved ones. If you can't afford something, don't be afraid of communicating that to others. If you can't afford to go to a bar or a nice restaurant, you can cook for your friend and ask your friend to bring some wine. Being open about your difficulties could even be a bonding opportunity. And knowing to spend within one's means is a sign of maturity and responsibility. It is not our fault that the human rights sector is low paid, and systemic change cannot come soon enough. Nevertheless, as we tackle the macro-level issues, we must make a living and feel financially secure. We cannot change the world overnight, but we can change ourselves. We can't afford to wait. This brings us to the end of this episode. In the following videos, we will delve deeper into how we can earn, save, invest, and spend wisely as human rights workers despite our challenges. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified of my future videos. Thank you for joining me on my journey towards financial stability as a human rights worker.